Hey guys, what is up? It's your girl, Grace Story, and I am back with a whole new podcast episode. College move-in is just on the horizon, if it hasn't happened yet. I know at some schools it has. And so I thought today it would be fun to talk about college stories in general. And this is kind of what not to do in college. So if you are going into college, listen to these stories, take advice as you will. Some of them are funny and goofy. If you're already in college, you already kind of know. I've already been through college, so I get it, and I'll kind of be giving my advice, sharing some of my stories along the way, but I'm really excited for today's episode. Additionally, I have a friend who's going to be coming in and out. This is Braxton. He's my bunny. This is actually his room. Like, my office doubles as his room. His brother, Bourbon, is also in here, so if you happen to see them, it's because they are going to probably be going back and forth, or maybe they won't. I don't know. Final thing I have to say is this is my 200th podcast episode, and that is literally insane to me. 200. 200. I have ADHD. I can't complete anything, and I've managed to do 200 podcast episodes. That's actually insane. I just want to say thank you guys for sticking around, whether you've been here for all 200 or this is your first episode listening. I love you guys so much. I don't do this for like any sort of money or notoriety. I truly do it because I love hanging out with you, and I almost feel like we've grown up together at this point. It's been 2 years. So I really appreciate you guys sticking around for whatever's going on in my life and all the transitions and everything that's happened. So thank you so much. 200 is crazy, and I really appreciate you guys more than you know. Before I jump in, I do have to say, don't forget to leave a follow, a like, a comment, whatever you're feeling. It helps out the podcast so much, blows it up. Also, you can leave a rating and review if you're feeling it. It's free, it takes about 2 seconds, and it really does help the podcast more than you know. It's a great free way to help out a small creator. So that's pretty much it. We are going to go ahead and jump on in. I'm Grace Story, and you're listening to That Girl, the podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in, because the new episode is starting now. So I'm going to be reading these stories from r/college today. I found a really good thread that has a bunch of stories, so we're going to read from there. Let's go ahead and start with the first one. Here's mine. I was doing an assignment that was due in 30 minutes in the library. 5 minutes left, I quickly print my assignment, write my name on top, and hurry to class and turn it in. A few days later, my professor emails me saying that my assignment was identical to another person and that I will be getting a 0 for the assignment. And I was like, WTF, because I don't talk to anyone in the class and I know I didn't cheat. So I said, okay, I will talk to you in the next class. So in the next class, me and this girl stay behind and the professor hands us our assignments. And they were exactly the same. Apparently she printed hers in the library before me, and I guess she printed an extra, and I accidentally picked hers up and just saw the top and assumed it was mine, lol. But luckily, the assignment was 2 pages, and I somehow took her first page, but my second page. So that kind of told the professor that I didn't mean to cheat, since we wrote about a different topic. I was able to print mine again and turn my assignment in. This is like was my worst fear in like freshman, sophomore year, because most people don't have a printer, especially if you live in the dorms. When you're a little bit older, usually you are able to get one, you have a job, you're able to manage things better, so you kind of just buy a printer. But freshman, sophomore year, I was heavily relying on the library printers, whether it was the one at my college, the head library, whatever, and this was one of my worst fears. I was the person who did always print an extra, but I also would like stand next to the printer when I printed because I was terrified of someone else picking it up or me getting the wrong one. I was that girl. So this is a little warning for you. If you print from the library, triple check and don't just be like in a rush, because professors are kind of understanding. I think for me, if it was like the 300 person class where like it was an intro class and there were so many people in there, they weren't very understanding. But if it was like a 20 person class, like those smaller classes, they were more understanding. And he got lucky and had like his second page with the first page. So just understand they may not be the most understanding people. They don't technically have to be if you turn in the wrong thing. Luckily, these days, everyone wants you to do it electronically, but there are some professors that are old school and just prefer it on paper. So yeah, if you're in college, definitely heed that warning. We have a piano in our commons on campus, and every few days I sit down and play for 10 to 15 minutes. One day I'm doing my thing, and when I get done, this guy comes up to me and says, "Hey man, great job. I love listening to you play." And I say, "Thanks, dude. I appreciate you saying that." And he says back, "Yeah, I actually just broke up with my girlfriend because she wanted to leave and I wanted to stay and listen to you play." That was an awkward moment for sure. I told him that was a bad idea, but he just shrugged it off and left. I was laughing all the way to my next class. This is one of two things. He was either joking, and that was definitely not true, and he just wanted to make an awkward situation to see what would happen, or two, him and his girlfriend were looking for a reason to break up, or they were already fighting. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that. Moving on. So this apartment company I'm renting from is your typical slumlord agency. Whenever I have the opportunity to tell people that go to my school to avoid them at all costs, I do. Not only have I been paying on average $60 for water every month, they lied about promotions, and every time I put in a service request, their employees would leave mud on the carpet and not clean up after themselves. So around Christmas time, they sent out a mass email talking about a Christmas wishlist giveaway. All you had to do is put some random wishlist item down. So me being the smartass I am, I put down a variety of items as a joke. First, an all-expense-paid trip to Europe. Second, your employees at least put bags over their shoes and not track mud all over my apartment. Also, have one of them dress up as Santa and give me $500 for the time I spent cleaning after them and feeling paranoid when my stuff was moved out of place. Third, spring tuition and fees paid for. Fourth, a microwave with $1,000 stuffed in it. Fifth, non-perishable food to give to the pantry and also $1,000. Sixth, $500 Target gift card and a bottle of eggnog, and I think seventh, paid storage unit for 5 years so I can put all of my extra shoes and clothes in there. Or maybe I'll live in there. I completely forgot about it until a couple weeks later. I got an email from them saying that they will be giving me one of the items on my wish list. I'm completely bewildered because all of my responses were expensive jokes. So I went about my daily life until one day I walked into my apartment after work and saw a neatly wrapped box 24 inches by 12 inches. Not gonna lie, a small part of me got a little excited. I ripped open the present to find a microwave. With a little hope left, I opened the microwave to see if there was any money or checks. Nope. I honestly felt like I got rickrolled as I looked up at the built-in microwave above the stovetop that came with the apartment. I ended up giving the microwave to a friend who wanted one and having a good laugh about it afterwards. Apartments are ruthless. Like, any sort of professionalism with landlords just kind of goes out the door, and it's kind of just like, they kind of go off of mutual vibes. So if you give them like disrespectful vibes, they give you vibes back, no matter how disrespectful they are to begin with. If you give them like that energy, they're gonna give it back. I've never really had a bad landlord except for one, which I hate them. I'm not a hateful person. I hate them. If you are going to UK and you want to know what apartments to avoid, specifically this one, message me on Instagram and I'll tell you, because I hate these guys and I kind of know the lay of the land. I've only been graduated for a couple years, so I feel like nothing's really changed and I'm still in the loop. Either way though, F those guys. I do have one crazy landlord story from Josh though. So Josh lived in a house off of campus, as did I, and his landlord did suck, like terrible, in multiple lawsuits, horrible guy, the worst. Anyway, I was at his house one day. I was the only human there. I had my dog, Evie, and then we had Luna, who was literally like an 8-week-old puppy at the time, in the house. And Josh lived in the attic, so I was in the attic with them, laying on his bed, doing homework, whatever. And there was a big window that you could access from the roof, but that's like the only light that was in there, other than like the light in the ceiling. So, curtains were open, I'm vibing. Tell me why. I look up, and the maintenance man is on the roof, watching me through the window. Yeah. 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 I was horrified, and of course I told Josh's dad, and then they went to the landlord and was like, dude, what the F is this about? And they ended up using it against him to get out of having to pay fees that Josh should have not had to pay for. Like, it's illegal. They were even asking him to pay for it in the first place. They just brought that up, how someone was literally like on the roof watching me, and he got out of paying those in the end. So good for him, I guess, but a little traumatic for me. And that's like the craziest landlord story I have, other than the crazy apartment one, which I will share at a later date if you want me to. This reminds me of a college story happening last semester. Before I start, obligatory mobile user. To start off, every year my college grants Christmas wishes to students a week or so before fall semester ends. One year they give away full paid scholarships, free parking spaces, etc. My Christmas wish is to put a pasta bar in the cafeteria since my college doesn't have the best cafeteria food. The reason I specifically put this was because I heard they had a pasta bar there before I was a student, which I really wish they had kept. Anyways, we get to the Christmas chapel, and my name is the first name called. I was so excited they chose me, and the room was so loud I couldn't hear what they said, but they basically said they can't grant me my wish because they have something better. which is 2 plates of pasta for me and one person to eat while they give the rest of the wishes. So I chose the first person I recognized who really wanted pasta, and we sat on stage eating cold spaghetti that had some weird kick to it while the college gave the rest of the wishes away. The best one being a Mac laptop. I'm bummed the pasta bar wasn't added because everyone would enjoy it and it'd save the school money by having pasta and not the weird food normally at the station, but still a funny experience. That's definitely something I feel like the interns came up with. They're like, oh, this would maybe be like a funny thing to do. I hope you enjoyed the pasta though, even though it was cold. It was in the dead of winter and I was leaving the gym on campus. Beside the gym is the only significant hill on campus, and I saw 3 drunk girls at the top, all in high heels and skirts. So I'm just watching them when they all decide to sit down on the sidewalk. Have you ever watched the Winter Olympics when the athletes perform the Luge event? It's Luge. I'm sorry I'm uncultured and I don't know how to spell or pronounce things. This is what the girls were doing. One of them was carrying a skateboard and they all got on it like it was a Luge. Well, they go down this hill at a whopping 5 miles per hour, digging their heels into the ground the entire time. They get near the bottom and completely eat it. 2 girls are on the ground crying, and the third is to the side throwing her guts up. They finally collect themselves after a minute or so, look at each other, and walk right back up the hill to do it all again. There was a girl who was also leaving the gym who saw the whole thing. We just looked at each other to make sure we weren't losing our minds and went on our way. I think everyone has a story similar to this one, like as the drunk girls. A hoe never gets cold. We've all been through that phase in college, and yeah, I think all college girls have a story similar to this, and it's genuinely not surprising if you live near campus to see this. Also, I feel like the college gym hit different. It's probably because it was free and they had so much good stuff there. Like, we had like a gym, we had a track, we had like all of the workout gear, weight area, and they opened a new gym like a year before I left. So we had 2 gyms. Like, college gyms hit different. Sometimes I think about my campus gym and get a little sad that I can't go anymore because it was the vibe. Especially in the winter, you'd like go in and then you come out and it'd be cold outside and you'd just be like, yeah, that was awesome. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I loved our campus gym. Spent the first night in university in the drunk tank after tackling a mascot and proceeding to square up with each other right in front of a squad car. Stayed with the full night in a slammer with a dude in a shark costume. He was a pretty cool dude, honestly. Okay. Nice. Nice. No notes. So my school building used to be a nun's convent, so of course we had ghost stories galore, specifically of this old nun who haunts the halls seeking vengeance for or whatever. It was during exam week. I was at the library cramming my ass off when suddenly the power went out. A few people screamed, and it was out for a few seconds before the generator kicked in. When it came back on, one of the jocks sitting at the table next to mine facing, bolted out of there, shouting something about not getting possessed tonight. We all laughed, but then the power went out and I noped out of there too. Ooh, spooky. I was taking a shower at night on Saturday, and I was about to use shampoo. The fire alarm went off, and I made a mad dash to throw on my robe and grab my towel. I flashed someone trying to tie my robe. Luckily, it was April and not too cold, but I had to stand outside wet, all because the theater department went crazy with their fog machine. That sucks. That is one thing that I hated about the dorms, is the fire alarm went off all the time because people were always burning stuff in the kitchen. Like, just imagine a bunch of kids who are probably drunk during the weekends, just like setting off microwaves, like burning stuff in the microwave. And every time that happened, we all had to evacuate and use the stairs. My foot was broken the year I lived in a dorm, so I had to go down 4 flights of stairs, or 8, because we were on the 4th floor and everyone was like 2 flights, I think, with a broken foot. So I don't miss the dorms. And it was so expensive. It was over $1,000 a month to live in a dorm when you could live in an apartment for like $500, and you can live in a house for even cheaper. Guys, I am pro living in a house off of campus. Like, you're on like a party street, I guess, which even if you don't party, you just get to be around a bunch of people who are like your age, and you can just like sit on the porch and meet people and be social. But also the houses are actually pretty nice as long as you don't live in like a party house, and you get to pick who you live with. Like, it's just, I'm pro that. It's not as expensive as an apartment, and maintenance is usually really nice. One time I dropped my class ring down the like pipe of my sink, and maintenance came and he helped me get it out, and I appreciate him for that. It was like 9 o'clock at night, so Yeah. It's move-in day at the dorms. The top floor is the boys' floor, second and first are the girls' floors, and the basement is common space. It also connects to the nearest parking spot, so it's heavily tracked on move-in day. My boyfriend, myself, and some of the residents' parents are waiting on the elevator on the basement floor when we hear all the way from the third floor, "Oh yeah, dog, we're gonna slay tonight. It's gonna be great. We're gonna get some P word." The doors pop open on the last syllable, and a trio of freshmen, frat pledged to bees, look at all of us and turn beet red. That's kind of funny. I just love, I love when freshmen are humbled a little bit, just a little bit. They just, I mean, when anyone is humbled, just a little bit, that's a good time. And it's like harmless, it's funny. I love that. Expectations were lowered after that, I guarantee. Once I was going to the bathroom and I wasn't paying attention as I was on my phone. I walked through the door and put my face down and splashed some water on my face to wake myself up. As I'm drying my face, this dude walks in and is like, "Oh shit, my bad," and walks out. I kind of laugh at him because LOL, he came into the wrong bathroom. Dude walks in 2 seconds later, shrugs and goes, "I don't care if you gotta go, you gotta go." I'm like, "Wait, what?" And as he's walking to the stalls, I see a urinal and I'm like, "Oh shit," quickly grab my stuff and run out. Funniest part was there was another dude shitting in there, was probably looking through the cracks like, "Why is there a girl in here?" Yeah, that's just part of it. You get a little tired, like get a little midterm exhaustion, finals exhaustion. You end up in the wrong bathroom every time to time. Not me, but I can see how it happens. One time I was in my second semester of nursing school, about to go on spring break, when the school closed because of a really contagious virus that led to a worldwide pandemic and lockdown. I now have every clinical exam project and ATI due online, missing out on 80 hours of patient experience. The funniest part is my boyfriend and I have custody of his 3 kids. They're on online homeschool, 2 are independent enough, but I'll have to basically teach a 9-year-old who just wants to play video games about a math technique that I never learned in school. Being so overwhelmed, my anxiety skyrockets, and I actually get less done than I'd like. The hilarity, I can't. The good news is the boyfriend still works, so we'll make it. I just don't know in what condition. I feel so bad for people who were in college and the pandemic didn't work out in their favor, because for me it kind of worked out in my favor. Like, I really liked having online classes and the freedom that it came with, because like I was also an athlete in college, so I was like, I did horses, so I was like going to the barn, doing lessons, going to see my horse. I was with my team a lot, especially during COVID, and we were still allowed to continue like training. We just had to be like 6 feet apart, and we had to have gloves, or not gloves, masks on when we weren't actively riding. So it freed up my schedule, because my specific professors were very much like, as long as you get these things turned in, like you can do whatever you want. Like, we aren't gonna hold class. I was also a senior, so that helped. So for me, COVID really was like a little bit easier than actually going into class. Obviously, the pandemic was horrible. It was terrible. I know I was personally impacted by it. It was a horrible thing itself, but the freedom of college, like, was really, really helpful and nice. We still, like, this was after we were still allowed to go to, like, the library and stuff, and, like, we just had to wear a mask or whatever. And I didn't have, like, the responsibility of, like, kids or anything. I had my pets, but, like, I was, like, able to go to the dog park with them and do things like that because of my specific, like, situation. So for me, it was really nice, but I do think about the people who really struggled with it. Like, my brother was a senior in high school during the time, and he had to learn at home, which was really horrible for him. He just doesn't learn that way, so it was a lot for him. And then he missed senior prom, he missed his senior trip, graduation did eventually happen, but he missed out on a lot. That, like, if I was a senior in high school, I would have been so disappointed, because those are memories that I still cherish to this day. So yeah, I really feel for the people who had to go through COVID and didn't get, like, the better side of it, I guess. Like, all of it was terrible, but some people really thrived through, like, that freedom, like myself, whereas other people didn't. So sorry. Hopefully we all learned something. Either way, we're all here today. If you're watching this, so yikes. We're gonna move on. One time when I called up the elevator to go down to breakfast, my friend happened to be in there. Neither of us were fully awake, so when the elevator door opened, we both jumped out of our skin and probably woke up that whole section of the residence hall with how loudly we screamed. Also, I'm from NH, but I go to school in North Alabama. It snowed about an inch in December, and obviously, from my perspective, it wasn't anything of note. But my friend from Mobile was so excited. I have a video of her literally dancing and freaking out and running through the snow because of how beautiful it was. She'd only seen it a couple times before in her life. I don't understand why they screamed. Just because the door opened? I feel like something's missing here. But okay. It was Halloween night, and I had gotten back to my dorm room and decided to do some late night studying. At about 3, I head to bed, but hear some yelling outside my window. My window is by the gate of the dorms, and they're right by a bunch of bars, so it's normal for me to hear people yelling. Then I hear the gate open and someone yell, "I'm gonna F his ass up." And then I hear a taser go off, and I was like, oh, someone's gonna get fucked up. Sorry, I didn't censor that one, my bad. Then I hear running, and some girls yelling, "No, Robbie, don't do it, Robbie." The running comes to the section of my dorm, then up my stairs and hear more yelling. Then boom, my front door goes flying the F in. I stood straight the F up and locked my room door. The taser is going crazy now, and the person is yelling, "Where is he?" Like effing Batman. I'm like, WTF. I end up going to check it out, and Robbie is gone, but like 5 random people are in my dorm, except for one who I know because he's part of the group my roommate hangs out with. Asked him what's going down and said that Rami, the whole time I heard Robbie, who could have been anybody, but it was Rami. He's part of the friend group, so I was like, oh, okay. Roommate likes to talk shit, but so does the whole rest of the group. Right as the people left and I was closing the door, my roommate was coming back. I was like, hurry and get the F in here. As soon as I get the door closed, I was like, you might want to lock that and do it for him. I turn it and boom, Rami kicks the F out my door. I'm just dying of laughter. My roommate tries to calm down through the door by calling him a P-word and a bitch. He ended up filing a police report. That is a little crazy. I do have a story similar to that. I actually did get it on video too. The video is on my Snapchat somewhere. But I lived in a house, and it wasn't one of the biggest party streets, so to say, but there were 2 frats that were fighting at the time. Like, these 2 frats ended up eventually having like a big fight where they literally, it was like something from like Twilight where they're like, you know, the war when they just like run at each other. That was them with like golf clubs and bats, and they ended up getting, the frat ended up getting kicked off of campus because of it, but this was leading up to that. We lived next to one of the frats party houses. But other than that, it was kind of like a quiet street. So we're in my room, we're getting ready to go to the frats, like we're just vibing, and we hear yelling. So we walk outside, and there's someone with a piece of wood, and he's like trying to beat another guy up with said piece of wood. And he's just swinging it around. We're hiding. I'm kind of standing next to my car because my car was parked the closest to the street, and so I was like, oh my god, is he gonna hit my car? Like, I kind of need to watch from afar and make sure he doesn't. And eventually he like couldn't get to him. Too many guys were holding him back, you know, and he was very obviously intoxicated with something, and so he ended up throwing the piece of wood down and like running away eventually. But I felt for my car in that moment. I was a little scared, obviously didn't know what was going on. This is kind of normal for like a Thursday, Friday night, but spooky. I slid down a hill and my pants were covered with mud. We were doing a solid lab and we had to get down to the bottom of the hill. I'm a very clumsy person, so I was hesitant about going down in the first place. I made it about a 3 ED, so I'm guessing like 3/4 of the way before I fell and slide. The whole class saw me and I wanted to drop out immediately, joking of course. I was able to smack most of the dirt off, and when we get back to campus, I went to the bathroom and wiped the seat of my pants to get the rest off. The best part of bit there is a path that I could have taken that was way less steep. You took the road less traveled, and unfortunately, this time it didn't pay off. But maybe one day it will. Probably not, though. First semester of freshman year, I had a class that usually met Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. However, the final was at 8 a.m. for some reason. I had studied, felt confident, and tried to go to bed at a reasonable hour, but I couldn't really sleep. So my genius solution to that was to take a NyQuil around 1 a.m. I only took one, so I wasn't expecting the shit show of events that happened on the morning. I woke up to my phone ringing. First of all, I noticed it's unusually light outside. I look at the phone and see that it's my friend from class whose final I was taking today. Why the hell would she be calling me? Then it hits me. I look at the time. It's 7:50 a.m. Unbeknownst to me, the NyQuil has knocked me out so hard that I didn't hear my alarm go off. I answered the phone in hysterics as I'm desperately pulling on a bra and shoes and sprinting down the hallway of my dorm. Side note, my professor was very strict, and she had previously told us that she would be closing the door at 8 a.m., no exceptions. I live all the way across campus, naturally, so I'm running as hard as I can, in tears, texting my friend to tell the prof to keep the door open, that I'm almost there, and I genuinely believed I was going to fail the class if I didn't make the finals, so I was worried about that too. The clock hits 8 and I break down. I still had a solid 5 minutes to go, so there was no making it. My friend texts me, however, and says to book it because the prof was keeping the door open. I break it into a full Usain Bolt fucking sprint, and I don't stop for a solid minute or so until I get to the building where the final was. I run in the room, everybody looking at me like I'm an escaped zoo animal, and try to keep my breathing under control, and as I take the paper from my prof, my friend later told me that I was unbelievably sweaty and breathing like a maniac. She tells me I'm late. Oh wow, I didn't notice, and I nod my head and take the exam. Got an A, by the way. I thanked her profusely for telling me to take the exam, or for letting me take the exam after I turned it in, and I basically owe my life to her. And that's why it pays off to go to class regularly, that puts in effort throughout the semester, turn in assignments on time, and show genuine interest in the class's professor. Because they'll save your ass if you fall into a NyQuil-induced coma and nearly miss the final. Agree. That is why, like, a lot of people are scared of professors. I was never scared of mine. I ended up, like, interning for my major, so I guess that helped because I got to know them. But definitely get to know your professors. Like, just go to class, raise your hand, talk to them. If you have questions, go to office hours. Like, they're not as scary as you think. They genuinely just want to help you. There are the few terrible ones out there, but for the most part, they just want to help you. So go out there and, like, get to know them because it's going to pay off. Like, they are nicer. They are genuinely more understanding. There have been situations where, like, I've been like, I can't turn this paper in on time. I had an emergency or I'm late to class or whatever. And they're way more understanding and will help you out, like, for sure. My friend was planning a Valentine's party for our dorm floor, and she invited me and my roommate to go bake a cake for the party at her brother's apartment. We shop for ingredients until approximately 10 p.m. and decide while we're out that we also want to make cookies. While we get going, cake's in the oven pretty quick, and we're working on cookies. Wholesome friend wants to make them into teas for the name of the building we live in. Oh, that's a great idea, my roommate and I say as we shape them and get them into the oven. When they come out, my friend was so proud she called her brother out to see them. He just said, "You know what those look like?" And that was when we realized we made 2 batches of dick-shaped cookies to give out to our floor. I couldn't stop laughing for a straight 5 minutes or so. The best part was that none of us realized what we were doing. We had taken a picture of me holding several of the teas upside down before it went in the oven, my roommate in the background making a tea with her hands. Oblivious. It's one of my most cherished pictures from freshman year. We still gave out the cookies and they turned out delicious. That's wholesome and cute and fun, and I'm glad you had fun doing that. I love that for you. Realized 20 minutes before comms I had a demonstration speech due. Threw a pillow, iPad, Nintendo Switch, water bottle, and my passport, then went to class. Presented speech on the fly about how to pack a plane on a plane trip. When I was done, the professor asked to go for my outlines, which I hadn't done, so I asked to go print it, went to the computer lab upstairs, made and printed the outline in 5 minutes, and turned it in when I got back. I had a 96 out of 100 on the assignment. Honestly, felt one time, there was like this huge party that everybody looked forward to every year. It was like a big deal. And I went. It was my spring semester of my senior year, so I was a little bit checked out. And we were just vibing. And then I ended up staying out all night. Like, all night. I had an 8 a.m. and I was like, you know what? It's college, YOLO, whatever. I ended up getting home, wiping my makeup off, and then doing a presentation on Zoom, like, at 8 a.m. And it was, like, a very important presentation. It was, like, the research behind cheetahs in zoos or something. And, yeah, passed with flying colors. So, this is your sign to know that if you got it, then it's okay to have a little fun. Drink a coffee. You'll make it. One of the student orgs handed out over 5,000 dildos the first week of class. They did it in the middle of campus to protest the fact that guns were allowed on campus, but sex toys weren't. So they got together with local shops, gathered up a bunch of dildos, and handed them out while waving signs that said, "C-word not Glocks," and "pack heat not meat." I didn't want to say, like, I don't know. I didn't know if, well, I guess that's a chicken, so I could say it. But anyway, kind of on topic of this, my best friend, I don't know if you knew this, if you didn't know this and you're, like, practicing safe sexy time, then check this out. She signed up to be an ambassador for Trojan. They sent her over 500 condoms a semester, but they also sent her these little stuffed animals that were meant to represent all of, like, the STDs. So there was, like, a syphilis one, a herpes one, and they were all, like, little animals. And she, for some reason, I ended up with a couple of them, and they're just, like, still randomly in, like, our junk drawer, but I don't know. Look into being a Trojan ambassador if you, like, really need to. If you're one of those people, she definitely did not blow through 500 condoms this semester, but you got to pass them out, practice safe, sexy time, and I still have the animals for some reason, and it's kind of like a funny thing that I kind of just remember from time to time. So, just 2 hours ago, I found out the one time I didn't save my assignment to the cloud before I started working on it, I forgot to save it all. Haha, so funny. Oh boy. Yeah, that happened to me before. This is why it's important to be friends with your professor. Not friends, but friendly. Because I just told them, like, hey, this is gonna be late. And they understood. So, yeah, it also helps because I felt like my program specifically was a smaller program, so everyone knew everyone, so it's kind of impossible not to know your professor and, like, get to know them at some point. So yeah, small programs are nice. Here's mine. We had an OChem exam the next week on the following Tuesday. I sent my ass off for a week and ended up getting a 94 on it. Completely ruined the curve for everyone in class. Oh, I remember there was always that one person. Chemistry was terrible. We're known for, like, our chemistry professors being the worst. Sorry, guys. Literally one of our professors got fired as an associate professor at a different school that was, like, lesser known than us. Like, not that that's necessarily bad, but we were supposed to be, like, the better program of the two. And guess what? They hired him to be our professor. And they ended up having to, like, really curve everyone's grades, like, a letter or two up, and then they fired him after that, and he was kind of the worst, so, yeah. One of my favorite stories started on the first day of the semester. Our professor was taking roll for the first time and calls out, Carson. Me and the person behind me say, here, at the same time. Everyone starts chuckling, the professor clarifies, Carson H. And we both said, here. Everyone was in amazement. Then the native Spanish-speaking teacher tried to sound out my name, to which we both responded by completing our names. And the class lost it. Turns out we both have almost identical names. We ended up being partners in the class for the whole semester. It was a, did we just become best friends moment. Well, that's fun. That's a good harmless fun. Good harmless fun. Let's do one more. Friday night with my roommates, nothing particularly planned. One of our teammates decided to stop by with alcohol. 10 minutes later, a few of his friends joined. Apparently a text went out that a party was going down at our place. Within 30 minutes, 50 plus people decided to commander our small on-campus apartment. Ari is notified as only 10 people are allowed in an apartment at a time. We bribe him with alcohol. He gets plastered. Spend most of my night babysitting and attempting to hook up with my friend with the volleyball captain. I mean, I feel like that's kind of like the average college experience. Not all RAs can be bribed with alcohol. I never did that because that's bad. Don't do that. But I know of some that were. So, yeah. That is a good trip down memory lane as well as some good stories. Let me guys know if you want me to do like a part 2 since college move-in is going to be ongoing. Or if you want me to talk about like different stories like frat and sorority stories or something like that. But yeah, thank you again for 200 episodes. It's because of you that I'm still here, and I love you so much for it. Thank you. But that is it. I try to upload every single Sunday and Wednesday since I started my new job, and I've been traveling a lot. It's been every Sunday with, like, occasional bonus episodes on Wednesday. It depends on how much I get done before I leave for my next trip to see if I'll be able to do that. But yeah, either way, there will be a Sunday episode, so check that out if you're interested. Right now we've been doing stories. I typically do like advice, but lately we've been doing stories because that's just the vibe, and you guys have been really, really enjoying it, so I've been sticking to stories. But let me know what you guys want to hear more of, and I'll definitely be listening to you. So yeah, that is literally it. I love you guys so, so much, and I'll see you in my next podcast episode. Bye, guys.
First